Welcome to the Tea Time Podcast, where it's all about taking a few healthy minutes each day just for you, with your host, Sharissa Bradley.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tea Time Podcast. I'm Sharissa Bradley, and I'm so happy that you're here. Today, I want to talk a little bit about sleep and sleep problems and how to help that. And I did an episode on stress a couple weeks ago, and I talked about how stress can be kind of this like big overarching number one problem that we have. And when we can kind of eliminate stress, or not even necessarily eliminate it from our physical environment, but eliminate the way our body deals with stress and kind of help focus on that by doing adaptogenic herbs and taking time for yourself, breathing, meditation, all of that. But there's this other kind of really big thing that if we don't address, we can have a lot of problems, and that's sleep. And most of us, probably most of us, are not getting enough sleep. And this is a real problem because there really isn't any good solution to helping us go to sleep or help us with sleep or help us to get better quality sleep. There's a lot of apps that you can use. There's a lot of measurement tools to tell you how well you're not sleeping, but there really aren't any real tools to help you sleep better besides prescription drugs, which we know causes dependency and you're not getting quality sleep and kind of weird things can happen. If it's beneficial, if it helps you in the moment, it's definitely useful. But if we're taking a drug-induced sleep, then we're probably not getting all the benefits of healing and things like that happen when we're sleeping. So that becomes a really big problem. And sleep has always been an issue for me. Like always, as far back as I can remember, I have had a problem sleeping at night. And what would end up happening is I'd fall asleep sometime around like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'd wake up at 10, 11 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would have missed the bus or missed school, obviously missed half of school because it's like 11 by the time I'm getting out of bed. And I had real issues with insomnia. Nobody talked about it then. I didn't know that that's what that was. I just kind of thought that I was this weird person who only needed a few hours of sleep a night, and that's just how my body did it, and that's just how I was, and that was normal for me. So I didn't really think much of it. And I didn't really understand that I had a problem with sleeping until my adulthood, when I ended up sleeping kind of like all day long, every single day, as much as I could sleep. So kind of the opposite of what I had been dealing with when I was younger, and then realized that I had this, really big problem with sleep, and that I wasn't getting enough of it. I wasn't getting quality sleep, and I definitely wasn't getting any benefit from my sleeping habits. And in college, I happened to take a class, a psychology course, and the professor started talking about sleep and how sleep is a learned behavior, meaning that we have to learn how to fall asleep. And if we break those habits or break those patterns, then we break the learned behavior and we have to relearn how to sleep. So there's like sleep training and these things that you can do to train your body to go back to sleep again. But I think just by looking at it from that perspective, all of a sudden we have this switch of there isn't something that's wrong with me because I'm not sleeping. It's just that I don't know how, right? Nobody gets mad at a little kid because they don't know how to tie their shoes. They don't know how to do it, so they can't do it yet, or they're not capable of doing it yet. And we need to think about sleep in the exact same way, that we're learning how to do it. We can lose it, right? If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. We can lose our ability to sleep well and sleep soundly and get any kind of healing from that sleep because we've done things that go against what our normal sleeping behaviors were. So when we were little kids, our parents gave us our first sleep routine. They taught us how to go to sleep. And they did that, hopefully, if you had like a nice, I don't know, this is what I do with my kids. Every night we go upstairs, we brush our teeth, get on our jammies and get ready for bed. We get in our beds, pick a couple books, read a couple books, sing some songs, and I turn off the lights. This is their habit, their routine. They know mom's going to do this, then mom's going to do this, and then mom's going to do this, and then mom's going to turn off the lights, and then we're going to be all wiggly and play for a little while, and then we're going to fall asleep. And that's what their body was used to. And we all had the same thing. If you went to sleep ever as a kid, you probably had some kind of routine that your body did right before you went to bed. And that's a really normal, natural process. The problem is that changed as we got older, especially if you're in the millennial generation where you went from not having any kind of electronics near you or around you until probably around 16, 17, 18 years old. And then, of course, if you're any older than the millennial generation, you probably got those electronic devices even later in your life. So we didn't really have this time to adjust, but we changed our routines. So now at night, instead of going upstairs, taking a bath, taking a shower, getting our jammies on, reading a book, singing songs, and going to bed, we're watching TV, we're scrolling through our social media, we're up late working on our computer, sending emails at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And our body's exposed to light, which light in the mind or in the body's perception is sun, right? We don't really differentiate too much between what the variations of light are and what darkness is. We just know light means we should be awake and dark means it's time to go to bed. And that light, actually having stimulation to light before bed, it halts the hormone production of melatonin and acetylcholine, 2 hormones that are necessary for you to fall asleep. So if you're exposed to light for a long period of time and then you're going to go try to lay down, those hormones haven't kicked in yet. They haven't been told to turn on because you're still exposed to the light. Maybe you keep your phone by your bed, turn off the lights, you're scrolling for 10, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is, turn off your phone and close your eyes. Well, your body doesn't have any idea that it's time to go to bed yet because it just spent all this time in the light and no time in darkness or lower light or less light to give it any kind of signal that it was time for bed. There's no routine. So in that case, you'll stay up longer waiting for your body to adjust, which we often wrongly assume that there's like something wrong or we have too much energy or maybe we drank too much coffee that day or something like that. But really what's happening is that your brain just hasn't been triggered in any way to tell itself to go to bed. So we have to relearn these behaviors. And I think that that's kind of revolutionary because when we start to look at it that way, then we have total control over whether or not we sleep at night and how much we sleep. And in the last episode, I told you, like, I have this need, like most of us do, to control our environment. It's not like I'm any different than any of you. I'm just admitting that I like to control things, right? I like to say, no, I'm going to go to lunch at this time and I'm going to read these books and I'm going to do this stuff and my own life, not in other people's lives, but the things that I do for me. And when I feel like I can have control over something, like it wasn't just something that was wrong that I couldn't manage because I wasn't sleeping at night. It was actually something that I could learn how to do. And I love learning. I'm a perpetual student. So yay, throw me back in the classroom. And when I figured this out in college, I started to test this theory on myself. I wanted to know if this is really true. Can I heal my own sleeping behaviors that for as long as I can remember, I never slept more than 4 or 6 hours in a row. Like 6 hours was a good night for me. And even into my later adulthood, this has been a problem for me. And when I finally learned that I could have the control over it, I started testing it. So I created a bedtime routine for myself. And after dinner, instead of going and watching TV or sitting on the couch and watching a movie, something like that, I would start doing other tasks upstairs, like reading a book, taking a bath, doing some stretching or some exercising. And I eliminated electronic devices about an hour before I went to bed. And again, I'm just trying to test it out and see if it works. I wasn't giving any credit to anything, but let's just see if this helps. And I didn't bring my cell phone in my bedroom anymore because it's such a strong addiction for us to check on other people and see like, oh, I wonder what my friends are doing right now. And like, I'm in bed. Is anybody else having fun without me? That need to check my phone is not something that I feel like I have control over. So in order to protect myself from that, I took my phone outside of my room and it just wasn't allowed in my room at all. Not in the morning, not in the afternoon, not at night. It just like never came in. And in that way, I was able to kind of keep it at bay. And that eliminated the light problem at night. And I would just keep soft lights on in my room, read with like a bronze reading lamp, and just keep everything really soft, really quiet. All of my activities were geared towards, it's the end of the day, I'm winding down, and I don't need to be focused on work anymore. Sometimes if I get really stressed at night thinking about all the things I need to do the next day, I make myself a really super, super detailed list, like down to the minute. At 7:45, I'm going to make my bed. At 8:15, I'm going to make lunches. And really, this is crazy, but like it actually works for me. If I write it all out like that, I often don't even look at it the next day. It's just not even necessary. It was just something that my body wanted to stress about at that time, right before I was going to bed. It was probably a habit or a pattern of mine that I didn't really know I had, to make these lists of basically telling myself how much I failed that day and how much I planned on failing the next day, because I would make these astronomical things that could never even get done by any human, let alone, one that wasn't always feeling her best. So if that happened, if I got overwhelmed by that, I would make a list as detailed as I needed it to be. And like I said, I would never even look at it the next day, but it did help to get that kind of stuff off of my mind. And it allowed me to get back into that night routine and calming myself down, and just anything that I could do that promoted sleep. Oils or essential oils, or using a diffuser or a heating pad to like warm up and get cozy. Anything that I could do to calm myself down at that point to help my body produce those hormones that I would need to go to sleep, like melatonin and acetylcholine. And in doing that, I actually created this like really amazing sleep pattern. And for the first time in my life, I was sleeping like 8 to 9 hours straight, like fall asleep the minute I hit the pillow, wake up rested at 7:30, like my body was ready to go. Yay, I'm up for the day and ready to play. And I was great, and I would feel awesome all day long. And it literally to this day blows my mind, because we spend so much time stressing about how we can't sleep and we can't sleep and we can't sleep, and we want to take the pills or the medications or the drugs and say like, this is what's going to make me sleep and I can't sleep without it. When in reality, you're totally in control of your ability to sleep. And it does take time, like learning any new habit. Again, it takes time to learn how to tie your shoes or to learn how to ride a bike. It's a learned behavior. So you're going to have to go back to school and learn how to sleep. And think about it that way. Like I'm doing this project and I'm going to increase my sleep, because sleep is one of those things that's right up there with stress. Like I said, if you're not sleeping, you're not healing. You have to get adequate sleep every night so that your body can repair itself. All day long, the only thing your body is doing is keeping you upright. Anytime you're working or driving or reading or thinking or talking, any of that, your body is using a ton of energy. So no matter how much input, the calories that you put in, the good fat, the good protein, your body is using that energy all day long just to function. So if you got a cut or you break a bone or you have tissue damage or organ damage, things like that, the only time that's going to heal is when you're sleeping. But if you're not sleeping, then you're kind of continually taxing yourself and taking away your energy. And it's like this, think about it like a bank. And every night you don't sleep, your bank account is getting less and less and less in energy and healing, and it's setting you back. So if this is the one thing you can do, right? And I say this with everything. If this is the one thing you can do, it will still increase your life. If you decide to take one piece of advice from me, and that's trying to get better sleep, this can seriously increase all aspects of your life, your energy, your mood, your well-being, your happiness, everything. When you're sleeping adequately, we feel better because we don't get behind, and our body is staying on top of healing and repairing, so much so that we don't have to worry about getting sick as often. We don't have to worry about our body adapting to stress as well, because it will adapt better if it's getting the rest that it needs and the time to repair that it needs to repair. So it's kind of like this overarching, amazing, wonderful thing that you can do for yourself is to take back control of your sleep habits and say, hey, I am responsible for how much sleep I get. not the lights or the neighbors or anything else, but just like, this is my mission and I'm going to sleep better. It's so important for your healing. It's so important for everything if we're not getting adequate sleep. And I don't mean to say this like, oh, you have to do this thing and like to be scary. I mean to say it as like, we should be so excited and celebrating that this isn't a problem that you have to deal with. That if your hormones are just irregular because you're stimulated at night in a way that your brain is not recognizing its sleep time, then that's something that you can change. And that's something that you can adjust and you can get better over time. And melatonin and acetylcholine and all of these hormones that work together will eventually work the way they're supposed to as we start to retrain them in the correct way. So hopefully, instead of feeling worried about your sleep habits, you are feeling empowered and hopeful that you can make these really good changes. And if you're struggling with it, just think back to when you were a kid. And if you didn't have the best childhood, think about the best childhood that you would have wanted. And what was that sleep routine that you would have wanted? Would you have wanted parents who took you upstairs and gave you a bath and read you a book and sang you a song? Maybe you need to find some routine that helps fulfill that aspect. So go upstairs, put your jammies on, love yourself, take a bath, read a book, sing a song. Who cares? It's super awesome. I don't know. And, there's some good ones out there. Twinkle Twinkle is always a good go-to in my opinion. And, find your pattern, find your rhythm, and give yourself some time. It's like learning a new skill, learning how to speak a new language. You have to give yourself patience and time and not feel rushed in this, and look for progress and celebrate any time you have made a change or changed a habit. If you're turning off your phone at 8 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock or 10 or 11, hey, that's something huge to celebrate. That's a really big addiction that we all struggle with. And if you can do it and you can stop that and change that habit and also get better sleep out of it, heck yeah, man, toast to you. And otherwise, pick a new routine, or try to, find your, whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable, confident, and best and most importantly, sleepy at night, so that you can get that adequate rest, wake up feeling rested, and really just generally overall healing. And I hope you got something good out of this episode today. I'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for spending your tea time with us. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Living well and shining on what you're about. Eating well is loving from the inside out. So take the time to love yourself. Take your plans off of the shelf. 'Cause for all you love, with all that you do, don't forget to love you too.